Great. All right, I'm going to go ahead and call our meeting to order. This is our December 2nd Town Council meeting here at 7 o'clock. And we'll have a roll call order, please.
Cannon,
Here.
Leek, Pansy,
Here.
Leek,
Here.
Edwards,
Here.
Morris,
Here.
Day.
Great. We've got a lot of people here in our audience, so we're going to go ahead and start with our Pledge of Allegiance from Cub Scout Pack number 1833 is here to lead us in the pledge.
Color guard attention. Audience, please rise. Scout salute. Those not in uniform, please place your right hand over your hearts. Please recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. 2. Color guard, honor your colors. Color guard, return to ranks.
Awesome.
All right, thank you very much. Great job there. Next, we have our invocation is being led by Ruth Ann Sawyer. Ruth Ann, just tell us what's going on out there, and then feel free to lead us into
Never know
invocation.
where I'll be.
I don't.
Well, it's with Haymarket Baptist Church. I'm now the police chaplain for Prince William County Police, as well as Prince William County Fire and Rescue, which includes our town of Haymarket. So I'm excited to work with these guys and pray for them every single day.
Okay. Miss Sim, do you want to check the mic just to make sure it's on? Okay. Oh, there you go. There you go.
All right.
Good deal. Thank you.
Before I get started with my prayer, I would like to take a moment of silence for a passing away that we had this morning. Chief Shelby Jacobs was the first fire marshal in 1966 of Prince William County. He then became the first fire chief in 1971, and he served Prince William County Fire and Rescue until he retired in 1994. He moved to Williamsburg. He was a former resident of Haymarket, and he was 84 years old. He did pass away this morning of cancer. There will be a viewing in Williamsburg this coming Friday, and the service will be held on Saturday morning in Williamsburg. So if we would bow for a moment of silence for him. Thank you very much. I brought my Bible tonight because I found some passages that are pretty applicable to the town and kind of where we are as residents. And I wanted to read you, this is from the New Living Translation, and I really like this translation. It's pretty easy to read, and it's very easy to comprehend. And it's from Proverbs 16. We can make our own plans, but the Lord gives us the right answer. People may be pure in their own eyes, but the Lord examines their motives. Commit your actions to the Lord, and your plans will succeed. The Lord has made everything for its own purposes, even the wicked for a day of disaster. Better to have little with godliness than to be rich and dishonest. We can make our plans, but the Lord determines our steps. The Lord demands accurate scales and balances, and yet he sets the standards for fairness. How much better to get wisdom than gold, and good judgment than silver. Those who listen to instruction will prosper, and those who trust in the Lord will be joyful. Kind words are like honey, sweet to the soul and healthy for the body. It is good for workers to have an appetite. An empty stomach drives them on. Gray hair is a crown of glory. It is gained by living a godly life. And we may throw in the dice, but the Lord determines how they fall. Let us pray together. Heavenly Father, just as you have instructed us just now in Scripture, in our hearts we plan our own course, but we pray that you establish our steps. But isn't that funny? We've been conditioned in this world to just the opposite, and to have control of our own lives. Tonight we come together as the town of Haymarket to discern, to make decisions, to complement one another, and to respectfully contradict. We pray that tonight we seek you for advice, to not let us make decisions based upon what we know and feel, but let us act according to your wisdom. Please guide and direct us, Lord, protect and guide our mayor and our vice mayor, our town council and staff. We also ask abundant prayers of protection for our brave Haymarket Police Department. We place this meeting tonight in your hands, Father. We place our decisions in your hands. We place our hearts and our minds in your hands so that you may direct us tonight and throughout this blessed, holy holiday season. We ask these things respectfully and humbly in your Son's name, Jesus Christ. Amen.
All right, thank you, Reverend Ruth Ann. Our next item on our agenda is our public hearing, and without objection, I'm going to go ahead and open our public hearing and then ask our applicant to give a presentation. And sure, absolutely.
All right.
Yep.
Real quick, I did want to add that there was one document of the application that was accidentally left off. Council has received this. It is the application narrative, the development narrative, conditions of approval, and I do have extra copies that I will put on the back for anyone in the audience who would like to see it. So with us tonight, we have Van Meter here to do a presentation to the town council for a special use permit request for 38 townhomes. That would be at 14850, 14860 at Washington Street and 6701 Hunting Path Road. Previously, this application came in April. It was vetted through the Planning Commission. We did take it to 2 public hearings with the Planning Commission. The first one had the 38 townhome neighborhood entering and exiting on Hunting Path Road. After concerns from many citizens, staff, and the Planning Commission, the applicant went back to the drawing board and came back to us with another design concept, which you have here in front of you tonight. Following that change, we held another public hearing just for transparency purposes. The application had changed significantly in our eyes, so we wanted to put it back out there for citizen comment. And with that, the Planning Commission in October, went ahead and forwarded the application to the Town Council with a recommendation of approval. We could not meet the tight turnaround for the November public hearing, so you have it here before you tonight. And we'll go ahead and let the applicant do their presentation, and then I can answer any questions if Council has any following the citizen comments.
Okay.
Good evening. I'm Denise Carover with Van Meter. I'm here with Roy Barnett. Thank you for having us this evening and for being here. Just a short overview to fill in some blanks in case you have any questions. This particular project is located directly west of the Haymarket Baptist Church and north of the VCA Healthy Paws Medical Center. It is immediately adjacent to the south of the Longstreet Commons HOA homes. This picture gives a better indication of the layout and the exact location and how these homes will actually line up with the adjoining neighborhoods. Our exit and entry will only be off Washington Street. In our meetings with Planning Commission and with staff, there was considerable concern about using Hunting Path for any egress or ingress, in particular because Longstreet Commons HOA has private streets through their community north of this project. So this site will be completely served with one roadway off of Washington Street. Anytime that Van Meter is looking at a project, we typically go to the town's comp plan and zoning ordinance to determine if the project will meet the needs of that comp plan and those zoning conditions. In this particular objective for your land use, just to highlight a few things, they want to make sure that areas are compatible in use. They want to make sure that it's best suited for residential, commercial, or industrial activities, that it has available public infrastructure, and obviously we want to make sure that there's environmental capacity, public utility capacity, and transportation network that can support that use. The zoning ordinance in this particular case, this project is zoned B1. In the B1 district, you are allowed with a special use permit to have residential, either multifamily dwellings or townhomes. With the special use permit, we have to meet certain conditions. These conditions are number 1 through 6. I'm going to go do a little high-level overview of each of these conditions. With this site, one of the first conditions that needs to be met is that we must meet with the stipulated area meeting the current local land policies. Because this is B1 and the special use permit is an allowed use for this site, we meet that particular requirement. We also want to make sure we meet with the general purpose and intent of the zoning district requirements. We have gone through the zoning requirements with staff, and we have been able to show that we are meeting all of those zoning requirements for this particular use. The use shall not adversely affect the surrounding properties and structures. We feel this is a fantastic transitional use with the property along Washington Street being B1 in business, commercial in nature, facing along Washington Street. We have heard from the town that that is the area they want to keep their commercial and businesses focused on. So we believe that this is a good step down from that particular commercial use to a more transitional use, if you will, in townhouses, and gives a nice buffer and change to the the current use located immediately north to us with the Longstreet Commons. Any use shall not adversely affect the health, safety, or general welfare of persons residing or working in the neighborhood. We believe this use actually complements the current users to our north, south, and east. Residential and neighborhood, daycare, church uses are all complementary uses to a neighborhood of this design. We believe that this provides a project with less density than a commercial project, which means that we would have fewer impacts on the transportation network or daily trips to this site. We are also providing sidewalk connections, not only internal to our development, but a direct connection from the project to Washington Street. We understand and want to help promote the businesses that are walkable from this project along Washington Street. So our intention is to promote that by providing a safe pedestrian network to access in and out of this area. We are also committed to providing a turn lane on Washington Street so that our traffic can turn from eastbound right into the project without backing up or impeding any of the current traffic on Washington Street. We have had a study done that shows that we could actually put that turn lane in and still provide the turn needed to access Hunting Path, so that the Hunting Path traffic trying to make a right would not end up in the same taper stacking lane. So they would still have their own separate lane. We've looked at all the utilities, drainage, parking, and loaded that are necessary for this site. It is 4 acres, 4.8 acres, with 38 units. Average lot area is 2,400 square feet. We are looking at a maximum building height of 40 feet. We are increasing the side yards to meet the setback requirements. We have a total of 26 front load with 12 rear load. We have a 25-foot landscape buffer along the Longstreet Commons property area, as well as along the Business B1 parcel to our south. We are providing a tot lot, as shown here in the upper northwest corner. That green area to the right is our stormwater management, will be provided on site as well. Contributions that are being made are in line with what is currently being provided for Parks and Public Safety, Transportation, Fire and Rescue, Town Administration, Schools, for a total of $714,692, or $19,316 per unit. As I stated, we believe that this is a compatible use based on the neighborhood and the adjacent property owners. We do not believe that we will adversely impact the adjoining neighbors. As a matter of fact, we believe that we will be an addition to the neighborhood and help the values surrounding us. We do believe that this use will have less impact than any other B1 commercial use that could come in here and be built. Currently, we are at about 304 daily trips with these 38 units. You could go up to 2,600 daily trips with any B1 or commercial use on this site. With that, if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and, if there's no questions from the council at this time, we'll go ahead and hear our public comments if there's any.
Can I just ask one quick
Sure,
question?
absolutely.
Is the stormwater undergrounded?
No, this is a pond.
It's a pond, okay. I couldn't really tell with the way it's depicted on it.
And it's a dry pond.
Correct.
Okay. Any other questions from the council for clarification? All right. We'll go ahead and open this at this time for the citizens to speak on this. The only thing I'd ask, if you come up to the podium, if you could give your name and address for the record. We'll get a mic up there too.
Good evening. I'm Chuck Carnahan, 6654 Hunting Path Road. I'm speaking tonight as private citizen Chuck Carnahan, not HOA president for Longstreet Commons. We had to cancel our meeting this month, so I don't have the consent of our board to speak on their behalf. I just want to let you know, I'm in favor, personally, of this project. I think it's a great use. If you look where that property, at least one of those parcels, for a good 15 years was a tax delinquent. So I think this is a great opportunity and great use of this. I will let you know, speaking indirectly about our board, Denise and Roy came to our board long before this started, presented their plan. They were very receptive to our concerns and our comments, and quite frankly, reacted appropriately to every one of our concerns and met our concerns. So I'm in favor of the project.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Chuck, for your comments there.
Dottie Leonard, 14801 Washington Street. So this commercial section is kind of adjacent to my property. I agree with Chuck. I think they addressed every concern that they had. They substantially reduced the number, took the parking issue and the traffic issue off of Hunting Path, and that is extremely appropriate. So I'm certainly in favor of it, and I am speaking on behalf of the citizens that I have talked to. So the Citizens for the Betterment and Harmony of Haymarket and Western Prince William County think it's a good idea too. Thank
Okay.
you so much.
All right, and thank you for your comments there. Anybody else like to speak? Okay. Instead of closing this, I think I reached out to some of the council members that I did not put this as an action item for an agenda. I thought that it'd be prudent to leave this open till our next meeting. Well, so we'll leave the public hearing open until our next scheduled meeting in January. So with that, I will, with no further objection, we're going to go ahead and finish up our agenda items. And there again, we'll continue to take public input via email or all the way up through until we close the public hearing at our next meeting. So with no objection, we'll go ahead and go to our next.
Well, are you
Sure.
saying that we're not given the opportunity to ask questions?
Oh, yeah, well, we're still in public hearing, so
Yeah, please don't close it as yet.
well, no, we didn't want to close it, but as far as asking questions to the applicant,
Yes.
I mean, yeah, if you have clarification, I just wouldn't want an opinion to be formed until we close the public hearing.
Right.
So as long as we're
And
just
I agree
clarifying.
and I agree with you not closing it, giving it, more time
Right.
to share on. But one of the questions that I have, if I
Sure,
can.
no, absolutely.
There has been a lot of discussions for the residential portion of it, which you guys have done a good job in putting the package together. But what about the commercial aspect at the front? Does that in any way, Emily, affects the application?
So the commercial portion in the front does not affect the special use permit application. They did disclose at the planning commission meeting that it would be a daycare of sorts in the front.
So is the front section totally a daycare? And what type of daycare?
Do you want me to answer? or do you
Well,
want
I'm
the
asking.
applicant?
I'm asking.
For the record, my name is Roy Barnett with Van Meter. I'm Group President of Van Meter for Acquisition and Development. We do have under contract a private school. They're not, and they're insulted when they're called a daycare, but they're a private school for higher learning of young children, for accelerated learning of young children. Be a private school, and it would sit right in this area with the playground in this area and a parking configuration on the side off of the street that we're constructing. But most of these start out smaller, and then they try to grow and scale as the children population grows and acceptance grows.
No, if I may, I know the last time we had the PC meeting, the Planning Commission meeting, there was a big secrecy about the type of business that was going there. No, is that all cleared up, or it's still?
That's cleared up. We disclosed, we had permission from the contract purchaser to disclose their use. But they are, it's a B1 use that would be by right in your zoning ordinance today, but it would be a children's private school. And they're already operating one other facility, and they have two others under construction.
Would you know if it is in conflict with the school that adjoins that property?
I'm not familiar with, you're talking about the child care that's run through
Yes.
the church.
Yes.
My belief is they're different, but I'm not familiar with the programs from that child care, so I can't speak to that. But typically, these are much different. They're for one thing, they're teaching 3- and 4-year-olds foreign languages, up to 10 different foreign languages, as part of their curriculum. So it's a advanced learning academy, if you will. I know years ago my son went to one, but it was in Arlington at the time.
Do you know if there are other models in Virginia that, as a council or personally, I could look at to see what it is?
They have
They do?
other facility operating in Virginia.
Are you at liberty to say the names?
Is it in South Riding? it's in South Riding, we can get your staff the name of the exact name.
Yes,
I
I
don't
would
have
love-
it right off the top of my head.
No, that's fine, that's fine. I just wanted to clear the
Yes.
air because the last PC meeting, I was a little bit uncomfortable
Right.
because of the secrecy.
No, it was only because of, sometimes in contracts, we have non-disclosure. We got their permission, so we disclosed. In fact, the Planning Commission, we actually showed a rendering with their school overlaid in the drawing as well.
And that was one of the conditions, I don't want to say condition, but one of our considerations for moving this forward to the council was because we needed to see what was going there. That was important. That's a good question on your part, Chris. But they did show us that with a rendition, and that's why we recommended that it come here for further consideration.
Do you remember, what was the name of the, I think that you gave the name out publicly, correct?
Right. It was, well, the school. Carter School. Karter. There's one in South Riding. They have a trade name, but it's Carter School.
So other questions for the
Just
applicant?
one more
Sure.
statement, sir. If you could bring it back to your team that basically worked with the town, worked with our HOA, you guys did a good job. You guys answered a lot of our questions, you facilitated our concerns, and it's a good model for what you guys have done here in the town. So if you could just bring that back, not just for your team, but you guys have done well.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Other questions from the council?
So your Sterling one has a child care, daycare, preschool, summer camp. The Carter is Sterling?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's kind of daycare.
Don't use the word big here.
Yeah, they were specific about that when they originally briefed us, was that it was not considered a daycare. It's a learning center, I believe is what it was referred to.
Yeah.
So,
I understand, of course, these are just sample renderings, but the last time that we met, you gave a sample that looked like the most recent rendering that you were projecting. Is that still to plan
For the houses themselves?
for the whole project?
Yes. We gave you a sample rendering, but we acknowledge that that must go through your Town of Haymarket, or, Town of Haymarket Architectural Review Board. So we know that that can be refined, is subject to refinement and changes as we go through that process.
Right, because the renderings don't show like the sidewalks in there, and
Yeah.
they have like the building orientation not facing Washington Street.
Those are sample renderings from other projects, so they wouldn't be one that was done specific for this. We use that to show the type of building, that townhouse that we would like to construct here, but again, it's not a 3D perspective of this particular site, but we did commit, as we said when we met with you, said earlier tonight, that we're constructing the sidewalk along our frontage of Hunting Path. We're making interconnecting sidewalk from that sidewalk through our community, and also the sidewalk coming out along our entrance road. And we'd be happy to have those entered as conditions of the special use permit, since this is not a zoning with proffers, but a special use permit with conditions. We're at your mercy for the conditions that you want to put on us.
Okay. Oh, absolutely, yep.
You did mention the sidewalk along Hunting Path. Was there a discussion about replacing trees?
No, there are existing trees there, and there were some trees. When the street was coming in here, if we did street improvements as well, then there was a concern that we may have some impacts on some trees because of the way that street section is today. But with the sidewalk section, we've been very good at maneuvering the sidewalk to maintain the existing trees along the frontage. And we can do that. We've done it in other communities, and we would want to do that as much as possible here.
So correct me if I'm wrong, so Van Meter would own all the way up to the to Hunting Path?
We would own up to the right-of-way line, but what we've done in multiple jurisdictions is if we have to meander the sidewalk, we create a public access easement over the sidewalk area so that the public has access through the sidewalk.
I'm just asking because those trees, under heavy winds,
Yeah.
they fall down and.
We would, and that's where we rely on our arborist as we get into construction.
Okay, thank you.
So do you have any rendering that would be more conducive to our street frontage that shows buildings must front Washington Street as the parking and how the townhomes will, how are you getting the cars back there if you orient the building in the proper manner?
The subject part of the use permit does not front Washington Street. It
Right.
fronts Hunting Path, and we are fronting the units on Hunting Path. And so these, I'll try to keep the mic here as well.
Right.
These 8 units in here, their front doors front Hunting Path. There
Right.
would be a sidewalk here. So as you drive back Hunting Path, you would see the fronts of the units. They have rear garages. These units here are turned sideways to have the least amount of impact and allow you to have that commercial transition between whatever commercial uses are established here. They have the least frontage of the building facing that commercial. This area in here would remain commercial. We're not asking for that. In fact, we're not asking for any zoning changes. It's all still B1. This would still be B1 use. We have the contract, under contract with the school. And of course, as you all know, nothing's final until the contract closes. And then we provided the buffers along the residential section to, again, provide the appropriate buffering between the residential and the commercial that would front Washington Street.
Yeah, I understand your explanation of that, but I guess I'm just still concerned about the traffic getting back to the townhomes. How is that orientated with the commercial use that will be on Washington, the way that you've shown in your general design layout?
We actually consolidated because any commercial use on Washington Street would need a curb entrance, a curb cut. We have 3 curb cuts today. We're closing those 3 to make 1 curb cut to allow an entrance off of Washington Street so that that entrance, this entrance, the turn lane has been sized to provide sufficient turn lane capacity for the commercial use and the residential cars. The cars would come in here. The parking is in the back of the building, and the building itself is fronting Washington Street. So we have the least amount of asphalt facing Washington Street.
So the depiction is probably incorrect then, I guess, this illustration plan, because it shows the building facing the west. It doesn't show it
That's not
facing
what they're
south.
applying for. They're
Right,
applying for that.
understood. But my concern is the traffic. How
Right.
does this all tie in together?
Right. We're trying to, because I worked in the intertraditional communities. I was one of the first builders in Kentlands and Gaithersburg, one of the first new urbanism communities. We want to keep as much building on the street front, keep the parking behind the buildings.
And you can get us that rendition, because the one I saw too that y'all provided
Right.
us was facing Hunting Path. So,
The building has an entrance on Hunting Path.
yes, sir.
But it also has a front facade on Washington Street.
Okay. Was that in the rendition y'all gave us?
We didn't give you a rendering because I didn't
rendering.
have it, and I will have to.
Okay, yeah.
If you're asking for that, I will go back and ask the client to provide something on that Washington Street elevation. Because we want to have,
Personally, I'd like to see a rendering of,
okay,
that would be my request.
that's fine. We will work on getting
I
that.
will agree with Councilman Chris there, Morris, that from the first time y'all came to the Planning Commission, that was a no-go. No-go from the start. Y'all have done a lot. Y'all have done yeoman's work on this, but that
We'll
Yeah,
get
just
you-
another snapshot there, a picture of what it's actually going to look like would go a long way with me.
We'll be glad to get that, try to get it to staff so they can distribute before your next meeting.
Is this going to be a planning commission? Is this coming for the planning commission again? Okay.
We're, of course, only on the SUP for the townhomes
Okay, got it.
aspect.
Yeah, I was just looking as far as the picture I'm asking for, but okay. Good.
I would caveat, whatever we bring, we know still has to go through your architectural review board.
Sure. Okay.
Okay. Other questions?
Yeah, just
Chris,
one
looks
more.
like.
So theoretically, I could park on Hunting Path and walk across to one of those 8 homes facing Hunting Path.
You could if there's parking there. It's a very limited area to park. We've actually over-parked inside the community. And we provided, unlike a lot of townhome communities that count the garage as part of their parking requirement, we have only counted the driveways. So each of these units has a 2-car driveway. And we provided almost a 1-for-1 surface parking. I think I'm maybe 7 spaces short of 1-to-1.
What's about, I see where Chris is going with this, and I would share that concern. What's the buffer between Hunting Path and the sidewalk in front of the townhouses?
We would assume that the town would want that constructed to town standards, so whatever the town dimension is, other than if we needed to avoid a tree. But if you want us to bring the sidewalk closer into our units and not have it along Hunting Path, we're willing to do that as well.
I'm just thinking, I don't know if this is what Chris was thinking too. What we don't want to see is Hunting Path become a parking lot now.
Exactly.
Right.
That's kind of what I'm getting at.
That's what I think, what my concern would be too. That's,
Public road. You can't
it's
stop
a,
people
it's a
from
public road.
parking on a
It's a public road, but
That's
if you
true.
have right buffers on there, people aren't going to jump across there.
But if this proves to be, if parking inside this area proves to be congested, despite the studies that you've done, if I'm a resident here and there is congestion in the morning, and I find it easier, I would just park on Hunting Path and walk across to my unit.
Currently, there's no parking on the east side.
On the east side.
So they
Yeah.
would have to,
Right.
if the town kept it the way it was, they would have to park on the west side, walk across the street, and then walk through the barrier, or whatever it is.
An issue, the town could then go into VDOT to traffic engineering to ask for no parking along there if it becomes an issue.
Right.
They always had it right, not that VDOT, they may or may not approve it, they don't work for me, that part, TE. But that would be an option that later on, if that became a problem, I think we're both thinking the same thing, then that's an issue that, possibly could be addressed, I don't know.
Okay. Other questions for the applicant?
No.
Or Emily?
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you
All
very
right,
much.
thank you very much. Our next item is our citizens' time. If we have anybody that'd like to speak, this will be time to just your name and address on file.
Marie Turner, Fayette Street. I have 2 items. One is to request Chief Lands remind his officers that Fayette Street is no through truck, being as Somerset Crossing Extension will be opening soon, and I'm sure that the building trucks on occasion will want to take a quick exit, although hopefully they'll go 15. But during the construction of that street, there were huge dump trucks going up and down Fayette. The second item that I wanted to bring up was the hotel and vehicles stacking on 55. I know that after reading the items for today, that the one entrance at McDonald's is going to close because the vehicles are stacking up on 55 to get in on occasion. with awareness of that, I have asked at the Architectural Review Board and the Planning Commission that the hotel entrance be on Payne Lane instead of Fayette, or we are going to have exactly the same thing occurring. As people make a right onto Fayette to go into the hotel, they possibly can't even make a left because people are trying to exit Fayette. If the entrance to the hotel, and there is only one, is on Payne, clients may go down either street, Fayette or Jefferson, and when they exit, they wouldn't be required to go down Fayette. If they wanted to go south, they could also go down Old Carolina or Jefferson Street. My concern is that the one exit on Fayette is adding much more traffic, would add much more traffic in addition to the school that's right down the street. In that same vein, when this item gets developed, and if it is a school, typically with schools, parents drop off and pick up, and when the front end of this property is developed, to make sure that there is a option for dropping off and picking up those children. Otherwise, they're going to stack on 55 to get in both ways. That's probably it.
Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you very
Yes.
much for your comments there.
Dottie Leonard, 14801 Washington Street. Hadn't really planned to speak at this citizens' time, but I will with the question that was just raised that Haymarket is an extremely blessed little town in that we have exits out from a lot of different places. People can take Fayette Street. The people who live on Fayette can take Fayette Street out. The people who live on Jefferson Street can go out Jefferson now that the Haymarket Drive is being finished. If there was a major issue, traffic tie-up, accident or something, people could make a right on Haymarket Drive after they cross the railroad track, or they could make a left on Somerset and have another way out. And then, of course, there's Washington Street or Route 55 going in both directions. And I've confessed to you before that I actually, when I was on the town council, made the motion for the approval of Haymarket Baptist Church's daycare center. And then when I ended up buying the house across from it, I thought, oh my gosh, those cars are going to drive me crazy. But you know what? I've learned to live with those cars. I have, when I was having to back out of my driveway, that was a little bit of an issue, so I had to make the other exit. But it has not been an issue. They're coming in quickly at certain times and going out quickly at certain times, and it has not been an issue for me. And even when I develop my parcel, I don't feel like it's going to be an issue for me. So I think we're blessed that we have so many ways in and out. Thanks for listening.
Okay, and thank you. Anyone else would like to speak?
Chuck Carnahan, 6654. Like Dottie, I wasn't planning to talk at citizens' time, but since we started talking about Hunting Path Road, I had intended to send a letter to town staff on behalf of our HOA requesting that we do some enforcement or request VDOT to do something on Hunting Path. About 6 or 8 years ago, the town installed the no parking signs on the east side of Hunting Path. At the time, there was discussion that that was part of a fire code requirement. because the street, when we had parking on both sides, there was concern about getting the big fire truck down the street. So I don't know if it's a VDOT thing or a town thing, but if we could get that east side painted yellow to match our beautiful new curbs in our neighborhood that we just did. It only took me 15 years to get VDOT to repave the street, so that's been done. And then I'd like to see, I don't know what recourse we have properly through the property maintenance code. Can we compel the owner on the other side to do something with the trees? Trim them, prune them, do something with them. You cannot walk up here without ducking your head at least 3 times between Long Street and El Vaquero. There are several sections of sidewalk in there that have heaved, particularly in front of El Vaquero, that need to be replaced or reset in there. So I don't know how we compel those 2 property owners, or if that sidewalk is in VDOT's right of way. Is that a VDOT responsibility? But I'll task you guys with how to resolve that. And then our dream scenario would be, love to have a couple street lights on that street. It is really dark to walk up through there, particularly with the tree cover. It's really dark. And I'll go out on a limb to say our HOA may even be willing to participate financially to help you in that endeavor. So, thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you very much for bringing that up. Anyone else for citizens' time? All right, seeing we're moving on to our minutes, we have August 23rd, starting on page 30, going all the way through November 4th, ending on page 45. Unless there's any corrections, I entertain a motion. Go ahead.
So there is one correction. When you look at October 2nd, everything after the closed session that's in the agenda packet just got minimized. So that's why you have the October 2nd meeting minutes printed, and we're on the dais for you today. We caught that error and expanded them for you all.
Yep.
So that's the only edit that I have.
Great. All right.
So will the motion be one motion to approve all of them, or we need to call each one?
Do them all.
Do them all?
Yep.
Are we ready for that, or? Okay,
Yep.
then I'll make a motion that we approve the following minutes. Special meeting, August 23rd, 2019. The regular meeting, September 9th, 2019. The regular meeting, October 2nd, 2019. The work session dated November 4th, 2019. And last, the regular meeting also took place November 4th, 2019.
Second.
Motion's been made by Councilman Shannon and seconded by Vice Mayor. Discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? No abstentions. Motion carried unanimously. All right, our next item is our agenda items. We're on page 46 of our packet with our administrative staff reports. So I'll go ahead and turn it over to Chris.
Before I get started, does anybody have any questions on any of the reports? No.
I guess that'll make it very easy, then keep going.
Okay, so I did just want to report on a couple items. In discussing the awarding a contract for Jefferson Street pedestrian projects, what I will do is I'll make myself more familiar with this, and we have to take it to the Finance Committee for approval prior to being able to bring it to Town Council to award the contract. So we'll go ahead and take care of that at the next Finance Committee meeting and move forward. And then the other thing, reporting based on the request from Vice Mayor, we reached out to John Hetzel, who's an architect in the area. And many of you may be aware, he helped out substantially in a couple projects around town for the town. And he's going to stop by and see if the ARB is interested in having him be a consultant for them moving forward. So I just wanted to report that as well.
Okay. And with that, would he actually go to some of the meetings? I mean, he would
Correct.
be like a non-voting member, I guess?
So he would be similar to the way the town attorney operates for town council. So during certain meetings, instead of all meetings, he would come and be in attendance and just be an asset that they would be able to utilize and ask certain questions or about certain architectural features or how it would affect the architectural presence of things. And Mr. Hetzel is also a member of Historic Manassas, so he's familiar with the historic process and everything. So I think it'd be a good fit if we can get him on board.
Okay. All right. Questions about that? All right. Continue on, sir. Nothing else regarding that? Chief, I know that, well, we got you separately here, but any other questions regarding our staff reports? All right, seeing none, we'll go to Chief of Police report. We're on page 66 of our packet.
All right, any questions on the statistics for the month of November? Okay, we went over a couple of research classes this month. We did the officers did a taser research, a defensive tactics research, and a firearms research. I'd like to thank Officer Davis, who's in the back. He helped in all of these research. He's one of our primary instructors who's certified in multiple certifications. He didn't expect me to do that tonight. I'm sure he's blushing.
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
We are also in the applicant process now for a new officer to replace Officer Gregory, who, if I didn't announce last time, he is going to be part-time with us. And we'll do a second round of interviews next week. I'm happy to report, we had a lot of applicants this time. And when I say a lot, for us, it was probably 10 or 11 applicants that were full certified officers, and all of them had great credentials. So this is the first time since I've been here that we've been able to have a pick of our officers. Yes, sir?
Contribute that to anything?
100% contributed to the salary increase that we did, in addition to the LEOs and VRS that we offer. So we didn't see this in the last 2 or 3 that I've been here. So it's great to have that option. We should complete those interviews at the end of next week. I do a peer interview after myself and Sergeant Shaver pick a top 2 or 3, then we take them before the officers. They do another interview in front of the officers because I think your team should have at least a say in who they want. And then we'll make a job offer to one of the applicants. So we should have someone in place and on the street by the end of December. Okay. 2 other things that I wanted to point out that you may or may not know. We have 2 new businesses that are coming into town that we found out about today. In the also Persichone building is Mathnesium. They're coming. I'm not sure when they're starting. Did I take your thunder on that one? I'm sorry. February. And the second one may cause us a little more work, and that is in the old Sheehan building. The whole first floor is now going to be rented out by the Youth for Tomorrow. It's a program that was founded and chaired by Joe Gibbs, and it is they provide diagnosis and treatment for a wide variety of behavioral and mental health issues, including depression, anxiety, post-traumatic stress, anger issues, substance abuse, obsessive compulsive disorders, aggression, attention deficits, and family and relationship issues. They're not some of these places, and they have them in Warrington and Woodbridge, Manassas, Springfield, and Loudon. Their one that was here was in Gainesville, right across from Heritage Hunt. They've now gone out of that building and came here to us. Some of them are inpatient. Thankfully, this one is not. It's an outpatient. They'll have psychiatrists here. Troubled kids and youth will come here to talk out their issues and to be helped with their problems. So I anticipate a slight uptick for us in things if any of the children, kids, and they also help adults as well if anything gets out of hand. But I just wanted to let you know that's coming. We went over and talked to them today. We saw them moving in today. They should be in place by the end of the week, and I don't know when they'll be up and running and what their hours will be, but it is an outpatient program.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Just so that we're all on the same page, they did come apply for a business license a couple weeks ago, and staff was well aware that they were coming to town, and they should be open next week and have full occupancy.
Thank you for reading the look on my face.
Yes, you're welcome.
Yeah, that's the first I've heard of it, too. So.
Also, Emily, I think I'm going to go over back to you just on our event coming up this weekend, because otherwise we're going to skip over it and we're going to forget it.
Can we finish with the chief first?
Oh, sure. No, you have questions for Chief?
Yes.
Yeah.
Chief, are you still doing foot patrol through Long Street Commons?
Not since you came on council, sir. We figured it. We
Just
would
checking.
stop it after that.
Because the president and I are looking for those foot patrols. So I just wanted to see if you're still doing them.
Yes, sir, we are.
Okay, good.
I think the Ring doorbells are setting them off at 2 in the morning,
Right.
so.
They did in my neighborhood, but we're
Yeah,
appreciative
we,
of-
we got a call for a suspicious person
Yeah.
caught on the Ring doorbell in your neighborhood. We did an investigation on ourselves. It was us.
It was an officer, one of the
Yeah.
officers. So I actually put that on our HOA on the Facebook website that, hey, they're out doing this. So
Yep. Okay. Further questions for the chief? Miss Emily?
Yes, thank you. So for those of you listening and council, this coming Saturday from 3 to 6 is our Christmas and holiday celebration. So we'll have a fun day for kids and families, adults, children of all ages, to come out and enjoy the Christmas holiday spirit. And we'll have our typical kind of crafters. We'll have some little activities for the kids, as we do every year. And we'll have a special visitor. Santa will be coming in around 3:20. And so it'll be a special afternoon to come hang out and spend the day with us. And then we'll have our tree lighting at 5:30.
Great. Okay. Banners and things like that, I think they're scheduled for this week as we transition?
Premier Landscaping will come by tomorrow or Wednesday, weather permitting, and put all of our wreaths up. So those will be up and lit. Hopefully, all of our poles are working this year. And then our Christmas holiday banners will also go up as well. And then you can see the tree probably get installed Thursday.
And one other thing, I think, I forget who sent it out, there was to all council about this coming Wednesday at Senator Black's office, that everyone's invited to the military tribute banner presentation to Senator Black. And if you don't follow his page, he actually stopped by town, I guess, that weekend that we put up his banner with his family and was able to see that. So, yeah, good stuff. Okay.
quick question, there was a flag, an American flag that was just barely hanging on. Was that fixed? It was just before, was before Lee Berry Way. The wife and I saw it.
We'll look,
If
we'll
you
look-
check that.
Yeah, we'll look into it.
Yeah, and the other thing is, as of right now, it's predicted to be high of 44, low of 23, mostly sunny on Saturday. If that holds true, I will be more than happy to take credit.
Okay.
If it rains,
Called in a good one.
I don't know, maybe Councilman Morris, I don't know, I'm just.
We could actually call in for snow. It was a great year when we had one during the snowstorm.
Yeah, well, it's showing right now 0 chance of any precipitation, which means Mother Nature just heard me, and we're probably going to get dumped on then, but as of right now, it's looking good.
Good deal.
Mr. Mayor, may I have your permission to raise one small topic with the town manager and not included the new business?
I'm sure, go ahead, sir.
It has to do with, a few years ago, Dominion came and they did the double stack. Remember that?
Yes.
And then
Very
they
well.
transferred the power lines, and then the utilities were left. Was that ever cleared up as far as removing the utilities back to the new lines and taking out the old poles, like the half poles that they cut down?
He probably is not familiar with it. I would, yeah.
I will tell you, Dominion is famous for old poles that have old used utility lines that are no longer in service. It's a common issue, whether it's Verizon, Comcast, utility wires, they just leave them up there
Well.
and they don't address it until it's done. So,
That's going to be a good task for you.
is it specific streets or?
No, it's along Washington Street.
Yeah, I could probably count on a couple fingers that I think that we still have an issue with. But we can definitely make sure that, yeah, because if you remember those days where they promised that they would, I think within 18 months, transition everything out, take out their old poles. But you're right, I think there probably are a few half poles that are still out there.
Maybe still have utilities on them.
Yeah.
So is it the poles themselves, or is?
Well, it's twofold, because Dominion, I think they moved their electric wires. But the utility companies should have come behind them and moved their utilities to the new poles. But I think there may be some of them still on those half poles. So that's just something for us to research, to make sure we follow through and make sure it's done.
It'll be a nice walking meeting to identify those. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Yep. Next, we're on page 67, the request about the McDonald's Leeberry Way closure. Go ahead and turn that over to Miss Emily.
So, if I can for just a second, I'd like to give a little background on this. The past year, we've been working with McDonald's directly and their engineer to come up with a solution for the current problem they're having, which is too many vehicles in the drive-through, mainly on the busy weekend, rush hour times. But what happens is these vehicles stack up all throughout their parking lot and then onto Leeberry Way, thus onto Route 55. So they went through an entire special use hearing process. They received approval to have a second drive-through lane added, very similar to the Chick-fil-A. With this, we then worked into the site plan phase. There was also a discussion at the time, I believe it was also at the public hearing with the town council, that we discussed wanting the first entrance to be closed. And so that kind of fell by the wayside. It was picked back up. They agreed to it. Everything was moving well. And then they decided they did not want to close the entry anymore. So they've come back to us with this new iteration where they want to leave both of them open and have their second drive-through. So we've been working closely with the applicant. We've been stressing, that we as the town need this to be closed for traffic safety issues along Route 55 when it does back up, congestion throughout that intersection there at Sheets. So we're kind of here today because Mr. Leeberry has written to the town this letter that you guys have, basically asking the town council to go ahead and close the very first entrance there to the McDonald's.
So you want to give the background on that, because I think that's real important to understand what was agreed to 20-some years ago before most of us were here.
Yes.
Yeah.
So also in your packet, you will have a easement document, and in there is a section that is highlighted and denoted, and that section essentially says that anybody party to the agreement can at any time request that the first entry there be closed due to X number of reasons. The town is party to that easement.
So this is a request from Mr. Leeberry, I understand, the property owner, that to exercise this agreement that was set back some 20-plus years ago.
Correct.
Yeah. So what's the process of that? He requests it, and it comes in front of the town council, and then we...
So I was hoping we could all have a discussion. If there's no discussion, then maybe Martin can assist us here, but we can make a directive to reach out, or I don't know if it needs to be an official motion.
Mayor, if I might, if the council were so moved, the motion would be basically that the town request that upon approval of Food Lion LLC or its successors or its signs, the entrance marked entrance number 1 on Exhibit E be closed and the traffic pattern reconfigured to allow entrance through entrance number 2. That's essentially what they're asking you to do. And if you look at Exhibit E, it's been highlighted on page 81 of the agenda. And the language I just read to you is basically paraphrased from page 69, paragraph 1 of the 2001 typical shopping center easement agreement. So, I'm sorry, entrance 2 is highlighted. So entrance 1 would be closed, and entrance 2, which is the highlighted version, highlighted area on page 81 of your agenda, would be the only entrance to the McDonald's. That would essentially force them to reconfigure the property similar to what we were previously discussing. As Ms. Emily said, Ms. Lockhart said that they had come in with another plan that did use entrance number 2. The other thing that you would want to do with this motion would be to give them some kind of time frame to do this, because it's not going to be something they can do overnight. So I would defer to Ms. Lockhart on what would be a reasonable time frame.
Okay. Let's have some discussion about that.
So just the timeline, just for me to understand the timeline. McDonald's first came requesting to open number 2.
So number 2 is open. So they were requesting to have a second drive-through added and then to leave both of them open. And then through all of that discussion, this has been about a year now, through that discussion, we got to an agreement to close the first one. And so then we were working through site plan, and that's when they changed their mind that they wanted the first one to remain open. So that's what triggered this discussion again.
What was the main reason behind them wanting number 1 to remain open?
They want to leave it open because they think their concern, or their thought is, if we add a second drive-through, then you're not going to have the traffic backing up because it takes that many cars out of the original line and it puts them beside.
Okay.
Other questions or discussion?
I think too, when this all started, McDonald's as a whole in the region had a plan to remodel all of their stores. So this is how it all started. They came to the ARB, I think it's probably been a year and a half to 2 years ago. They came to the ARB with the plan, and as the woman from McDonald's was sitting in the audience waiting for her turn, when her turn came, she's like, I won't be presenting, because other people had presented projects, and she realized that this standard plan was not going to happen in the town of Haymarket. So they wanted to do this whole redesign of the building along with the 2 drive-throughs and everything. It was going to be this whole huge project. So it kind of then turned into these little adjustments that they could make.
Yeah, because they've been to the planning commission how many times?
Yeah.
Several times.
4 or 5.
And so,
And I think it was at one of the meetings that I brought up, it's like, wait a minute, there's a proffer about this.
Yes.
And that's where it was like, we discovered, and then, of course, Mr. Leeberry here recently has come in to say, hey, look, this thing's not working, they're not being cooperative, something needs to change. And by the way, here's the roadmap to get the change to happen. Because they thought of this many years ago.
So do they have a plan?
So right now, they're trying to work through a site plan to have a second drive-through with everything remaining open. What their issue is they can't meet the parking requirements unless they close it. So it's also necessary for them to get their second drive-through.
And when we discussed this some time ago, they just putting the second drive-through would have reduced the traffic by maybe, 5 cars or something like that, so what we were hoping was that they would send the traffic around the building before they got through the drive-through lane, which was why we only wanted one entrance to accommodate that. That would completely eliminate the stacking forever. And that's the ultimate goal. Because the second drive-through by itself, it was just a Band-Aid.
Just come through here and wrap around?
Right. We were going to do it here, and then they would come around and wrap around.
Closing off this one.
Exactly.
They need it for the parking too. They can't meet the parking requirements if they don't close
Right.
it off.
Exactly.
So the plan that they have going forward would not be approved?
Correct.
Keeping number 1 open?
Correct, because they cannot meet their parking. They've tried multiple layouts, multiple different discussions, decisions, and they would either have to get rid of all of their green space and thus not meet that requirement to meet parking, or they have to close the furnished entrance.
So the choice is either they go ahead and close the first entrance, or they get a directive from the council to close it?
Yeah, I guess essentially, yeah. So we have a resolution to kind of push this thing forward.
But do they know that? Because it would be better on their part if they close it.
Yeah.
They do know that. We've had this discussion with them for, I would say, the last 6 months.
And this isn't a franchise-owned, this is corporate-owned, McDonald's.
Doesn't seem like should be hard to make a decision. but now we have an adjoining business owner that's involved.
Correct. That has it, the documentation when he bought, purchased, and developed this and sold that parcel to McDonald's. So they kind of had thought through all this
In case
back
that was an
then.
issue.
Yep.
McDonald's is a lease or they
Corporate owned. I don't know about the pad site. I thought that he sold the pad site. That's probably a,
It has a different owner.
yeah.
Correct, yes. And I was just going to recommend that we give them until June 30th, 2020 to close it. And the reason I suggest that date is just with the winter months coming up. Also, they do have to finalize their site plan to have it closed, and then that would give them a little bit of time to do construction. If they choose not to finalize the site plan, they'll still have to close it within that time frame.
Okay.
So it's
Okay.
about 7 months.
Chief, question for you. Can I make there has been comments about traffic backing up on 55 because of McDonald's. Is that true?
It's a problem.
It is.
In their busy times, especially with that first entrance, because they turn in there, and once they stack through that lane,
Yeah.
it comes out, stacks up Leeberry, and then backs up onto 55.
Which then backs up the entire shopping center.
Right, and that traffic's not necessarily McDonald's traffic. That's traffic trying to get into all the other businesses in there. So definitely closing that first entrance would be a help.
So if they were able to use the second entrance, turning right and then immediate right, is that too sharp of a turn for them?
There is
According
a
to their
real
one
world
plan.
example of that at the Manassas Airport McDonald's, where they go down, they make an immediate right, and then there's double drive-through lanes around. So it's pretty much the exact same
I've
setup.
never been to that one.
If you would like to take a visit, it's just down the road, but it does definitely work.
And they came to us with that plan, though. They
They
showed a
did.
drawing and everything, Chris, and that works.
And it meets all the right turns, the right lane widths,
I think
parking
it's
lot
also in
widths.
Fair Lakes McDonald's. I think it's the same.
They were actually
Yeah, the Fair Lakes McDonald's has a longer drive down, but yeah,
You're right.
they
But
do have, but,
once you get in the property, it's set up the same.
exactly.
So you're on page number 82 of our packet, and I think we were going to get a number for this resolution, right? No,
Well, that was
sorry.
a different
No,
one.
sorry.
That was a different one.
This
Pardon
one,
me,
you would
80.
just want to add the date of June 30th, 2020 to the
So, yeah, I think,
Do you want to do the form
The
of the
form of the
motion
motion.
say the
again,
form of the
Martin?
motion again,
Yes.
sure. The
Yes,
form of the
please.
motion would be that the town request that the entrance number 1, upon the approval of Food Lion LLC, successors are assigned, be closed no later than June 30th, 2020.
Okay, so moved.
Second.
All right, second by Councilman Morse. Discussion on the motion. We're ready for a roll call vote, please.
Shannon.
Yes.
Panthy.
Yes.
Edwards.
Yes.
Morris.
Yes.
Day.
All right, great, super. Our next item on our agenda is the discussion that we had at our work session, which is the ARB's request for 14881 Washington Street, the Pardo House with the red roof. So, as discussed on the work session, I think we discussed a lot of the options that we might, could impose, timelines. There was also consideration, the fact that the communication being somewhat a problem. Chris, you want to go ahead and?
Just move forward as discussed in the work session, if everyone's all right with that.
Yeah, so,
I think we ought to reiterate what we talked about.
sure, absolutely.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but what we talked about was issuing Ms. Pardo a letter, giving her 1 week to reply
Right.
with her plan. That's not, and so within a week, 7 days, that's strictly to reply to the letter with her plan and a timeline to correct the issue, or to at least get in here and talk to you and Emily on what the fix needs to be. the letter was, we given her 1 week to respond. Otherwise, we have authority under the blight policy to go. But
So let's talk that through, because now so with it being painted, it's not the fact that it's not being maintained, it was just painted the wrong color. Is there any kind of, I look to Martin because the blight ordinance is to fix blight, but is blight because it's painted the wrong color?
No, it's not blight because it's painted the wrong color. That might be a zoning violation if it's.
Yeah.
historic district.
Just send them a zoning violation letter.
I think that's where we're probably more.
Okay, yeah. So, and,
Yeah.
because, we don't know how far that red off is. We just know how bright it is. But I think just the communication with Ms. Pardo and Emily and Chris to kind of work through it and everything.
If she were to put in an application with the ARB, it would have to have the material, the type of paint she was going to use, the color, all that kind of stuff in it. So to make sure that it was something that would work.
Agreed, because just not any paint works on that type of roof.
Right.
So, yes.
So zoning violations at,
Yes.
yeah.
So it sounds like the direction, or the proposal was to give her a week to explain how she's going to fix that, or else we would issue a notice of violation. So it's a courtesy notice.
Okay.
Okay. All right, great. All right, our next item, we're on page number 82 of our package, the Meals and Transit Occupancy Tax Penalty and Interest. So during our work session, Martin, we did discuss what are the rates that we could legally go up to. We had a suggestion, as we've got this proposed penalty and interest, I think that you might have spoken to Chris about, but there are more questions, I think, is that the maximum now that we are allowed to impose?
So, no, it's not. There are two kinds of penalties that you can impose. You can impose a non-filing penalty, which is what somebody pays when they just don't file a return and they owe you money. And then there's a non-payment penalty that you can also impose. So if I own a restaurant and I don't even file my return with you, I can be hit with a non-filing penalty as well as a non-payment penalty. The Code of Virginia 58.1-3916 addresses this, and it goes into a great deal of detail. In general, this oversimplified version of this is that 10% penalty and 10% interest is the maximum, subject to some caveats. The biggest of those caveats is for meals and lodging taxes, you can actually have a penalty of 10% for the first month the taxes are past due, 5% per month thereafter, up to a maximum of 25% of the taxes collected but not remitted. I don't know of any localities that are doing that. I just checked Virginia Beach, Manassas, and Culpeper. They're all at 10%. They have not gone to this graduated penalty provision. So I don't know how well it's working around the state. I've not heard of anybody that's using it. And so you could, for the meals and lodging tax only, have a higher penalty for non-payment than you have currently for the real estate tax. There's also specific B-poll penalty provisions that you can apply that are in a different code section. They're under the model B-poll ordinance that's in statute. So the answer, like the answer to all good legal questions, is it depends, and it depends on what kind of tax you're talking about. But you could go up to 10% on everything across the board, and that would be fine. And then if you wanted to increase that because people are just not paying their meals and lodging tax, you could go higher with this graduated penalty for meals and lodging tax.
Did we all understand that? So with the proposed penalty of late filing 10 and late filing or late payment of 5%, and the proposed 8% per year, that would be, of course, after the you're late on the first month's payment.
Right.
Seems to be an average or, right.
It's right in there, and it's what you're doing for all your other taxes, so it keeps it simple.
Right. Okay. Discussion with that?
Makes sense to me.
Yeah, okay.
I have a proposal in form of a motion if we want to.
I'll entertain that, sir.
Approve ordinance 2019-004 as presented.
Okay, seconded by Councilman Morris. Discussion on the motion? All right, go roll call vote, please.
Shannon?
Yes.
Anthe?
Yes.
Edwards? Yes. Morris?
Yes.
Day?
All right. Moving along, of course, as a placeholder, I had closed session on there. We're skipped to our updates. We have our ARB Review Board update.
Yes. The ARB met. We have had several solar panel applications and approvals in town, so that's really turning out to be a big item for us. We have done all the approvals, the elevations for the hotel, with the exception of the landscape materials. So that would come back after, when they go to their site plan review and they, right? Yeah.
I'd have to refer to Emily or Chris on that.
Because they front Washington Street. So we,
So all of their landscape materials meet our ordinance
Okay.
requirements, so everything's in line. I'll look closely at the ordinance if it specifically needs to come to you, but everything is all by the books of what we have proposed.
okay, okay. And then, there were some issues with some unapproved signs at the old bank building. They were put up unbeknownst to the landlord. So she came in, at the meeting and got that all squared away. So they should be up and taken care of soon. She was very apologetic. She had no idea it was happening. So that's all taken care of.
Mayor, can I ask a question?
Sure.
With regard to the solar panels, would it be possible if they've gotten kind of routine for us to adopt by ordinance criteria, performance criteria that everybody could follow, then they wouldn't have to come to the ARB?
would just be a,
It would be an administrative approval?
We've done that for a couple of things
Yep.
as far as the ARB goes.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that would sort of follow the guidelines. How are we with the revisions for the guidelines?
We have, go ahead, Emily.
Right.
I am working on my next part of it so that they can go back to the board in a week and a half for their next meeting.
Okay, and maybe that could be incorporated too, where.
Yeah, I'll work with Chris and we'll try to come up with something to
There
tack
was
in there.
actually some discussion
Yes.
about that.
Right, okay.
I believe over the summer, we had a work session meeting and it was brought up at that time as well.
Okay. Other questions for ARB? Nope. We'll move on to our planning commission update.
It was a very quick meeting. I'll say the best for last, but we discussed the 2020 town meeting calendar, and I think we approved that, didn't we?
All the dates?
And then we discussed the town council directive to update the comprehensive plan, taking that on. And I said I'd say the best for last. We got to introduce Ms. Pearl Carter Bush as the latest and greatest planning commissioner. And we just thank her for stepping up and taking this responsibility on. Otherwise, that was a quick meeting.
Okay. All right, so we'll move on to our council time, and back to you, Mr. Shannon.
First of all, I trust that everyone had a nice Thanksgiving. I can honestly say I didn't gain any weight. That's a good thing. I'm still as fat as I was before. But again, serving and thinking about the changes that we're facing here in Haymarket really made me really sit back and really think about how important our mission is to this town, and not only those that live here now, but those that are going to live here in the future. And and I know, and I just want to thank each of you as I do the ARB and the Planning Commission for taking everything so serious, because this is important stuff. It really is. I sit around and I talk to, I'll use Miss Leonard as an example. Miss Dottie Leonard listened to some of the history of this town and some decisions that were made, some good, some bad, regardless, they were made. But look where we're at now. This town is cooking with gas, in my opinion. I think we're doing great things for this town. We've got big decisions that we're facing, but I'm confident we're going to do the right thing for this town, for not only now, but for the future. And it's a true honor for me to serve on this. And last but not least, the town, our staff, Chris has done a great job coming on board. And I could go on and on about Chief Lance and our police department. I'm anxious to meet the new police officer once we get him on board, or her. I'm anxious to meet them, and I have full faith and confidence in the chief that the right person is going to be selected for this. So thank all of y'all for what you do. And last but not least, I want to thank the citizens of this town that show up to talk. We may not always agree. Sometimes we have to agree to disagree. But just the fact that they come out and talk, they're not, I mean, they want to be part of the solution and everything. I commend those that do that. So that's all I have.
Councilman Panthe, any comments?
I have no comments, and
Okay. Vice Mayor.
Yes, I just have a couple things. Now that all the staff is kind of set and we're all here, I would like to see the social media presence increase a little bit. Sorry. No, I'm not reading your stuff. I had it written down on my paper. Just a little bit more activity with the events and what's going on around town, and maybe with the traffic issue, like Somerset Crossing was closed a little bit, and there was, a little bit of confusion about that and a lot of traffic in town. So that would have been helpful to have used our social media to kind of squell that, as well as people in this town are very concerned about their trash. And there were a lot of posts about, is the trash coming on Thanksgiving? Is the trash not coming on Thanksgiving? Are they doing a follow-up date? It's always a thing, and I don't know what it is, but people are very worried about their trash. So if we could kind of anticipate that and just put the post out there, it'd be helpful.
Okay. The only reason I look at you, because I looked at Emily, I think our notice went real early this year, because that exact, yeah, maybe that was it, because I think we were at least a week early on our notice for the
But
trash.
people tend to
Or
not
remember that.
remember. They're looking at it like as it comes closer to the date, put it on the front page of the website. I mean, just a little ticker across the top. They could just go to the web page and say, here it is. I don't know why.
Okay.
It makes me giggle because people are so concerned about their trash, but
Yeah,
it's fine.
it is.
Another trash note, I spent several days at the playground with my grandson over the holiday. And do we have a regular schedule for when they empty the trash? The trash cans have been really full up there.
We've been increasing that.
Okay,
Yeah.
so maybe just
Yeah.
keep an eye on that. I know the weather's getting cold now, so that might change, but it's a good playground. It was fun. They had a blast,
Oh, good.
especially with all the musical stuff. That was a lot of fun. Yeah. So, and maybe, I don't know, Chris is going to get mad if I say something he was going to say, but just looking at the reaction for the business licenses that went out and the new businesses coming, maybe that's something you could put in our Friday reports. If, new businesses are coming to town, it might be something nice to put in the reports that we get weekly. So if anyone, the residents stop us and ask us about it, we kind of at least know they're coming. Just a suggestion.
Okay.
I would agree with that.
Sorry.
I would even go further. Mr. Mayor, can I?
Yeah.
I would even go further in using the social media. So the social media has been something that has been on my mind to share. I don't think we use it enough. And the police uses it a lot. Like, they probably don't have a lot of work, but But the police uses it to their advantage because they're doing community policing. And I don't know, among your staff, who's going to pioneer and take it over. But I see it's just being wasted. We're not using it to promote our meetings. I just checked a while ago. I'm actually on Facebook while I'm here. And the last post has been a while. But we should use it to promote more. Promote our meetings. We had some great items on the agenda this evening. We should, if we're able to legally, just drop the agenda on it and use it to share it with, a lot of people look at social media instead of an email. But I just think it's something that it's at the tip of our fingers and we're not using it to promote the town, get more people involved in sharing their ideas. Majority of the directions that we go, they come from ideas that, that citizens share. So I just don't think we're using it enough. In addition to, what was your last point? Oh, new business. Share about new business that's coming into the town on our social media. Maybe look at, highlighting 1 or 2 business per month or per week, just so that people are aware of the different. There's a cupcake or bakery place that's being held in a house, right? Remember, they got 2 years ago. They got permission to. So I
Yeah,
don't
I'm
know.
not sure if they reapplied this year. But,
Okay, but they were. But stuff like that, that's a home business, that's illegal, and they're paying their dues. We can promote them, but I just don't think we're using it enough. And the last point that I have is just to wish everyone a Merry Christmas.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Councilman Day?
I just want to say that I think the staff is doing a great job, police department's doing a great job, and I'm really thankful that you guys are all here, and I really appreciate you guys. That's all I have to say.
And in closing comments, I would agree with everything that everyone said here. This year really seemed from, at least in my seat, we got so much done. I mean, you reflect back, starting with even the zip trip and just the events that we've held, and how much we did for the town. We've painted all 3 buildings. We repaired all the sidewalks from Green Hill to Sheets. Just all the projects we were able to get accomplished. And then the town center, to be able to now be proud to walk through the doors of a building that really truly reflects something that looks like it's organized and just not piecemeal together. So I think obviously a lot of good things to come too as we look and see the Zandras. It's probably right at the cusp, cutting edge of getting their final permits done. And if you walk by there and just go inside, the machinery is already being hooked up and they're doing all their stuff there. That's going to be exciting. And then there are new developments too as they come to fruition. It was, I think, out of all the years I've served, probably the first time that there was so much, at least in my eyes, was accomplished this year, that we can look back and say, yeah, we're proud of that. Oh, the park, yeah. See, I was just going to say, but yeah, another good example of how many years. Our blight, I mean, gosh, 20-plus years of looking at stuff. I mean, the list can go on. Maybe we should reflect back on that, to look at our accomplishments for this year and put it to writing. But yeah, good stuff, good stuff. And working with a great staff, they're as we're at our other jobs, they're the ones that are making it possible and greeting the people and answering the questions and making this thing function. And we sincerely don't overlook how much you all put into it, police, staff as well. But yeah. With that, that's my only thoughts. So with that, I'll entertain that motion.
I would make a motion to adjourn.
And seconded by Vice Mayor. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All right. Thank you all very much. We appreciate your time. Good meeting. At the end of the year,